Hello and welcome, my dear friend. Some messages find you exactly when your spirit is between chapters. Not lost, not early, just right on time. This is one of them. Dear chosen one, God is about to repay you in ways you can actually count, not in vague promises or distant blessings. In real, visible changes, in timing that suddenly works, in peace that finally holds. In outcomes that make sense after years of confusion. You've walked through a long stretch of giving, trusting, and holding it together, and heaven has kept a detailed record of it all. Let's be honest, you've carried responsibilities that weren't yours. You gave help that was mistaken for obligation. You held space for people who only remembered you when they needed somewhere safe to land. You weren't just faithful, you were steady in the dark, holding on to your peace like currency in a storm. While others performed consistency, you lived it. You built character in the quiet, without cheating, without validation, shortcuts. And those choices didn't vanish. They matured in silence, like seeds beneath thick soil, waiting for the right season. That season is now shifting. If this already settles somewhere deep in you, take a second and like or share this so it reaches whoever else has been carrying quiet faith too long. See, God doesn't keep score the way people do, but He does close books. And yours is balancing. You'll notice something different now, not in what's coming, but in what no longer clings. The old attachments don't grip as hard. The memories that used to replay have gone quiet, like they finally got the message. You stop rehearsing conversations that will never happen. And somehow, that silence feels like peace, not loss. That's the miracle no one talks about, how letting go begins to magnetize everything that truly belongs. The moment you stopped chasing, alignment started chasing you. The moment you forgave, space opened for something lighter to take residence. Even your body can feel it. Breathing deeper, sleeping longer, holding less tension in the jaw, in the heart, in the waiting. You're not carrying everyone else's story anymore. So there's finally room for your own, and that's when life begins to move differently. Not faster, but smoother, not louder, but clearer. Because once you stop dragging what's finished, you make space for what's written. For years, you poured from a cup that never seemed to refill. Now that same cup is about to overflow. Not because of a miracle that appears out of nowhere, but because the balance of divine math always returns to even. Every time you helped someone and they disappeared, every kindness that cost you rest, every prayer that felt unanswered, they were all deposits. You just didn't see the receipts yet. But you and I both know the delay between letting go and receiving can feel endless. Those in-between seasons stretch time until you start doubting whether anything is moving at all. But divine timing doesn't run on seconds or calendars. It moves by readiness, and when you stop questioning it every hour, it unfolds quietly in ways that answer every question you once shouted into the dark. But the season of invisible credit is ending. What you gave in love is coming back in clarity. What you lost in confusion is coming back as direction, and what you did in faith is coming back as form, something you can hold, use, and count. When it comes, you'll know it's divine because of how right it feels. Not rushed, not loud, not performative, just aligned. And when it comes, meet it with steady hands. Don't question it. Receive it the way you once carried pain, quietly with grace, knowing this was always part of the agreement. God isn't rewarding perfection. He's settling the account of endurance. He's answering the nights where you wanted to stop trying but didn't. He's balancing what life tried to shortchange. So start paying attention, because the shifts won't scream. They'll click. Not everything will make noise when it arrives. Some things will simply fit. And when they do, you'll realize something powerful. You were never waiting for a miracle. You were waiting for the world to catch up to what God already decided was yours. and now it begins. The season where everything that once felt taken starts finding its way back home. If you listen closely, you can already hear the quiet shift inside you. The way your spirit no longer bargains for crumbs it never deserved. Something in you remembers the original agreement. You were not designed to beg your own life to include you. You always carried that knowing, even in thin years. Even when your hands were empty, your heart was still certain. That certainty wasn't arrogance. It was memory. Before the world taught you how to survive by shrinking, God authored a way for you to be sustained by being fully yourself. Not the edited version, not the pleasing version, the real one, the one that chose the narrow road and stayed. This part isn't loud. It doesn't need confetti. It feels like recognition arriving without an announcement, like walking into a room and realizing the light is already set to your skin. No grand reveal, just a steady yes that fits. See, you didn't get here by playing the game better than everyone else. You got here by refusing to become someone your soul couldn't sleep with. You walked away from platforms that wanted your talent, but not your truth. You stayed poor in ego and rich in alignment. You let quiet build what noise kept interrupting. That's why nothing about this feels sudden. It feels earned, not by performance, but by becoming. Call it what you want. Repayment, return, reconciliation. I'll call it this heaven funding. What it formed. Not a wage for a show, an endorsement of a life. And when heaven funds something, the currency is strange to people who worship applause. It looks like favor in ordinary places. Position that doesn't require costume. Ease where there used to be friction. Not spectacle, stability, not hype, weight. They may try to reverse engineer your steps. What trick? Which sponsor? Which blueprint? There isn't one. Dear chosen one, some things don't come from method. They come from maintenance. You maintained your center when it was cheaper to drift. You guarded your kindness when anger wanted the microphone. You kept your voice honest when performance could have paid faster. Now the atmosphere simply tells the truth about you. Remember the nights you thought you'd missed it. You hadn't. You were being built in a way that wouldn't collapse later. Like certain stars that don't appear on command, not because they aren't shining, but because only the right conditions reveal them. You weren't invisible. You were waiting for the air to catch up to your frequency. And now that it has, the glow is unmistakable. While some mistook your stillness for delay, a foundation was being poured, thick enough to carry what your name was always meant to hold. You learned how to breathe without begging, how to show up without pretending, how to move without needing permission to be real. Now you are being paid to exist as that person, not the polished costume, the aligned core. This isn't the kind of wealth that trades your soul for a number. This is wealth that feels like breathing instead of bargaining. It whispers, "You're safe now because you stopped selling yourself to buy a seat." If it feels strange at first, ease where tension used to live. Let it feel strange. You've trained for storms. Calm is going to feel like new weather. Give it time. Watch how peace starts speaking for you, how rest carries a quiet authority, how your life begins to say what your mouth doesn't need to argue anymore. And the beauty in all of this is you didn't skip steps. You stayed planted. You watched others sprint while your soul held still. You gave up chasing validation, and God wrote your name into an inheritance no algorithm could block. That's why this doesn't look like finally getting in. It looks like coming home, and you don't owe the past a reenactment to prove you're grateful. You don't owe a speech to people committed to misunderstanding your silence. What's real will recognize you. What needed you smaller won't know what to do with you now, and that's not your emergency. There will be people who ask for the secret. You won't have a 5-point plan. You'll have a sentence. I stayed when it was quiet, when it was costly, when it was tempting to turn myself into something easier to consume. I stayed with what was true. That's wealth, too. being able to tell the truth about your path without decorating it. If you need proof that this shift is happening, look where anxiety used to live and see how often it goes unfed now. Notice how your yes means yes, without a second voice bargaining behind it. Notice how you don't audition for rooms that never learned your language. Notice how relief shows up first thing in the morning, instead of waiting for a weekend to deserve it. These aren't promises of later, they're signatures of now. And if part of you still waits for the other shoe to drop, bless that part. It survived a lot. Then, remind it gently, this isn't a trick. This is what happens when a life stops leaking, when attention returns to what it was assigned, when love stops being currency and becomes nature again. My dear friend, what's ahead won't require you to become grand, just grounded. It won't ask you to be impressive, just honest. It won't demand a bigger mask, just a stronger root. You've been trusted with other people's pain. Now you're being trusted with joy. You've been assigned to broken places. Now you'll be invited into beautiful ones. Not to escape what made you, but to prove that healing doesn't erase the past. It changes its power. So stand how this season asks you to stand. Quiet, tall, unhurried. Let the glow be the explanation. Let the peace be the receipt. Let your ordinary day be the miracle. Food in the house, breath in the chest, work that fits your hands, a spirit that doesn't flinch at its own reflection. You were not born to chase scraps. You were born to host abundance without losing yourself. To be positioned without being possessed. To be seen without becoming a spectacle. This isn't the era of trying. This is the era of being resourced for who you really are. Not because you finally learned the trick, but because you refuse to trade your soul for a shortcut. Live it. Not louder, truer, not bigger, deeper, not someday, now. And if anyone asks what changed, you can smile and say, nothing loud. Just everything real. Before you go, if you'd like to sit in this same peace a little longer, I've created a place for that. My second channel, Simplified Serenity. It's filled with worship instrumentals made for prayer, meditation, and stillness. A quiet space for your heart to breathe, rest, and connect with God. Just tap on the playlist on your screen. I'd love to see you there.